What I'm about to tell you may change what happens the next time your blood pressure monitor throws out a number that terrifies you. Because when that screen suddenly shows 168 over 94 or 182 over 101, most people do the exact opposite of what their body needs. They panic, they pace, they keep checking every 2 minutes. They search the internet for miracle foods. They swallow something random from the kitchen. And in that moment, they unknowingly drive the number even higher. I'm Dr. Michael Joel, and if you're over 60, this may be one of the most important natural blood pressure lessons you ever hear. Before we begin, please subscribe to this channel because what you learn today could protect your heart and independence truly. If I could teach my patients only one natural technique to use the very same day they see a high reading, this would be it. Not a supplement, not a trendy powder, not a secret drink from social media, not a banana, not apple cider vinegar, not even a walk around the block, at least not in that moment. The method I'm talking about works by calming the system that is often driving the spike in the first place. And when I show you exactly how to do it, you'll understand why so many seniors are accidentally fighting their own nervous system instead of helping it settle. Let me tell you about Robert from Columbus, Ohio, because his story captures the danger perfectly. Robert was 72, retired, disciplined, and very serious about his health. One Tuesday morning, he climbed the stairs from the basement, grabbed his blood pressure cuff, sat down fast, and checked his pressure because he felt off. The reading flashed 176 over 96. Immediately, his chest tightened, not from a heart attack, but from fear. He checked again, 181 over 100. Again, 183 over 102. By the third reading, Robert wasn't measuring a calm cardiovascular system anymore. He was measuring adrenaline, muscle tension, shallow breathing, and panic layered on top of each other. That's the part almost nobody explains clearly enough. Blood pressure is not a fixed statue sitting inside your body all day. It is a moving target that responds to stress, posture, bladder fullness, pain, fear, caffeine, conversation, rushing, and even the thought that something might be wrong. Your arteries tighten. Your heart beats harder. Your breathing gets shallow. Your nervous system shifts into protection mode. So, if you attack a scary reading with more fear, more motion, and more checking, you can trap yourself in a loop where the number climbs partly because of the way you're reacting to the number. And that brings us to the number one best method I teach for lowering blood pressure naturally and fast when a person is stable, conscious, and not having emergency symptoms. It is slow, paced breathing with a longer exhale, done while seated correctly and completely still. That's the method. Not glamorous, not expensive, not exciting, but it directly targets the stress-driven surge that can keep pressure elevated. It activates the calming side of your nervous system, helps heart rate ease down, helps blood vessels relax, and gives your body a chance to stop acting like it's under attack. For the right situation, this is the fastest natural tool you can use right now. But before I show you exactly how to do it, I need to make one thing crystal clear. There are moments when breathing is not your answer. If your blood pressure is over 180 over 120 and you also have chest pain, shortness of breath, weakness, numbness, trouble speaking, vision changes, or severe back pain, that is not a YouTube moment. That is a 911 moment. I need to be absolutely direct about that. A breathing exercise is for a stress-amplified reading in a stable person. It is not a replacement for emergency care. Never let a calming trick delay treatment when the body is sending true danger signals. Let me tell you about Carol in St. Louis because this distinction matters. Carol was 69. One afternoon, her husband checked her blood pressure because she said her vision looked strange and her right hand felt weak. The monitor showed 188 over 121. Now imagine if he had said, "Let's just sit here and breathe and see what happens." That would have been a disaster. Instead, he called 911. Carol was treated quickly, and that speed mattered. So understand the difference. A high number with no emergency symptoms may call for a calm reset and a second reading. A high number with neurologic or chest symptoms calls for emergency help. Now let me give you the exact method. Sit down in a firm chair, put your back against the chair, place both feet flat on the floor. Do not cross your legs. Rest your hands. Relax your jaw. Unclench your shoulders. If your waistband is tight, loosen it. If you need to empty your bladder first, do that before you begin. Turn off the television. Put the phone down. No talking. No pacing. No argument. No checking the news. Your job is to remove every signal telling your body that danger is present. Because until you do that, your pressure may keep reflecting alarm rather than recovery. Once you're seated, breathe in gently through your nose for 4 seconds. Then breathe out slowly for 6 seconds through your nose or pursed lips. Not a dramatic breath, not a giant gasp, not a forceful blow, just a smooth inhale and an even slower exhale. 4 in, 6 out, again and again. That gives you about 6 breaths per minute, which is slow enough to settle the system without making you dizzy. Continue for 5 full minutes. If 4 and 6 feels too long, use 3 seconds in and 5 seconds out. The key is simple: slower breathing, softer breathing, longer exhaling. Here's why that longer exhale matters so much. When you breathe this way, especially with the exhale stretched out, you stimulate the calming pathways of the nervous system. Your heart doesn't need to pound as hard. Your blood vessels don't need to stay as constricted. Your body gets a message that the emergency has passed. Many seniors have lived through decades of stress, loss, caregiving, financial worry, and physical pain. The body learns to stay slightly on. Slow breathing interrupts that. It doesn't magically cure hypertension in 5 minutes, but it can absolutely lower a stress-driven spike and help reveal what your resting pressure actually is. Most people ruin this method without realizing it. They breathe too hard. They hold their breath. They watch the clock every 10 seconds. They keep talking while doing it. They breathe from the upper chest instead of the belly. Or they stop after 40 seconds because they don't feel a dramatic change. That's not how this works. This is not a performance. It is not supposed to feel intense. In fact, if you feel lightheaded, you're probably overdoing it. The breath should feel quiet, controlled, and sustainable. One hand on the chest, one on the upper abdomen can help. You want the lower hand to move more than the upper one. After 5 minutes, wait 1 minute, then check your blood pressure once. Sit quietly for another minute and check it again. Write both readings down. If the second one is lower, good. That tells you your body responded to the reset. If it's still high but you feel fine, don't spiral. Log the number, keep calm, and contact your clinician if it stays elevated or if this pattern repeats. The worst thing you can do is take 6 readings in 7 minutes while growing more frightened with each one. That transforms one useful measurement into a storm of noise, tension, and confusion. Robert from Columbus did exactly this after I taught him the method. He sat down, stopped moving, and did 5 minutes of slow breathing with the longer exhale. His first panicked reading had been 176/96. After the reset, it came down to 154/88. 2 minutes later, 148/84. Still not perfect. Still something to discuss with his doctor. But now we had something real. We had a number less contaminated by fear and physical strain. More importantly, Robert stopped chasing the reading like it was a fire alarm. He started managing it like a health metric. That shift changed everything for him. Now I need to tell you something important, because this is where people get misled by flashy promises. Slow breathing is the best, fast, natural method for many stress-linked spikes, but it is not a permanent cure for uncontrolled hypertension. If your blood pressure is high morning after morning, week after week, you need a bigger strategy. That strategy includes food, sodium, activity, sleep, weight, stress, alcohol, medication adherence, and accurate home readings. The breathing method is your emergency brake for a non-emergency spike. It gives you immediate leverage, but long-term blood pressure control is built by what you repeat every day, not by one heroic moment. Let me tell you about Diane in Sarasota, Florida, because she made the mistake I see constantly. Diane would get a high reading and then rush to the kitchen for whatever the internet had declared magical that week. Celery juice, apple cider vinegar, a clove of garlic, one time even a spoonful of mustard. None of that gave her a reliable, immediate effect. What did happen was more anxiety, more stomach upset, and more confusion. She kept looking for a dramatic rescue when what she actually needed was a repeatable protocol. Sit, breathe, recheck, log it, then build daily habits that keep the spike from happening so often in the first place. And this is where we separate fast from powerful over time. The breathing method is the fast tool. The food strategy is the heavy hitter over weeks and months. If you want lower pressure that stays lower, your plate starts mattering enormously. The most proven eating pattern for blood pressure is one centered on vegetables, fruit, beans, whole grains, low-fat dairy, nuts, fish, and lean proteins, while cutting back on saturated fat, excess sugar, and restaurant-level sodium. In America, the biggest sodium bombs aren't usually the salt shaker on your table. They're canned soups, deli meats, frozen dinners, sauces, pizza, takeout, and processed snacks. Let me give you a senior example from right here in the United States. Frank in Tulsa, Oklahoma thought he was eating light. Oatmeal in the morning, turkey sandwich at lunch, canned soup at dinner, crackers at night. Sounds modest, right? Except the sodium was hiding everywhere. The bread, the deli turkey, the soup, the crackers. His pressure stayed stubbornly high, and he swore he hardly used any salt. Once we looked at labels, the truth was obvious. He wasn't oversalting. He was overbuying packaged food. That's why so many people feel blindsided. They think blood pressure is only about what they sprinkle on dinner, when it's often about what the factory already added. So what should the plate look like if you're over 60 and serious about lowering blood pressure? Picture this: oatmeal topped with berries and walnuts, a salad with beans, grilled chicken, olive oil, and plenty of colorful vegetables, plain yogurt with fruit, baked salmon, sweet potato, broccoli, maybe unsalted nuts instead of chips. Nothing exotic, nothing trendy, just a pattern built around potassium-rich, fiber-rich, minimally processed foods. That kind of eating helps over time because it shifts the chemistry inside the blood vessels. Less sodium burden, better mineral balance, better weight control, less vascular stiffness. It is not as exciting as a miracle tonic, but it actually works. Now, I want to be careful with potassium because this is where advice online can get dangerous. Yes, foods naturally rich in potassium can support healthy blood pressure for many people, but if you have kidney disease, take certain medications, or have been told to watch potassium, do not suddenly start loading up on supplements or salt substitutes without medical advice. I'm talking about real food first, not random powders. A baked potato, spinach, beans, yogurt, fruit, vegetables. Safer, more balanced, more sustainable. The goal is not to overwhelm your body. The goal is to stop starving it of the nutrients your blood vessels and nervous system use to stay steady. Let's talk about walking because many people assume exercise is the fastest fix in the middle of a spike. Usually it isn't. If your number is elevated because you are upset, physically tense, or frightened, marching around the living room is not the first move. Sit and breathe first. Now later, and I mean later, regular walking is one of the best pressure-lowering tools you have. Brisk walking most days of the week helps blood vessels become more responsive, helps weight come down, improves insulin sensitivity, improves mood, and often improves sleep too. But don't confuse a long-term conditioning tool with the immediate calming tool you need during a stress-amplified reading. Then there's weight, and I know some of you are already rolling your eyes because every doctor seems to say it. But I have to say it because it matters. Even a modest drop in body weight can move blood pressure in the right direction. Not because anyone needs to chase a perfect body, but because less abdominal pressure, better insulin control, lower inflammation, and easier circulation all help the cardiovascular system. For seniors, the goal is not some punishing transformation. It may be losing 5 pounds, 10 pounds, maybe just no longer gaining. Small, steady progress changes numbers. And that matters because blood pressure risk is built from small daily pressures compounded over years. Alcohol is another one people underestimate, especially after retirement. I've had patients tell me, "Doctor, it's only a couple drinks in the evening." But those couple drinks can quietly keep pressure elevated, worsen sleep, and make morning readings more unpredictable. If you already have hypertension, this is one of the simplest levers to test. Cut down and watch what happens over 2 to 4 weeks. Not because one glass automatically ruins everything, but because routine alcohol can become background interference that never turns off. And smoking, of course, is even worse. Tobacco injures blood vessels directly. You cannot outbreathe that damage. If you smoke, getting help to quit is one of the strongest gifts you can give your future self. Now let me tell you about Nancy in Des Moines, Iowa, because her blood pressure problem wasn't food at all. Nancy was 71 and did many things right. She cooked at home. She walked with a neighbor. She rarely drank. Yet her readings stayed high in the morning. When I asked about sleep, everything changed. She was waking up 4 times a night, falling asleep in front of the television, snoring heavily, and dragging herself through the day. Once we addressed sleep and her overall routine, her numbers improved. This matters because poor sleep keeps the stress system activated. A tired body does not regulate pressure gracefully. It stays irritable, inflamed, and overreactive. And that takes us to the quiet trigger almost nobody respects enough: emotional stress, not just big tragedy. I mean the everyday American stressors that hit seniors constantly. Caregiving, bills, loneliness, grief, medical appointments, family conflict, cable news. Yes, the morning news can raise blood pressure before breakfast. I've seen it. Some of my patients take a reading while listening to stories about crime, politics, war, and disaster, then wonder why the top number jumped. Your body is listening even when you think you are just watching. If you want your real resting pressure, create a calm measuring environment. Silence is not a luxury here. It is part of the protocol. Here's another trap. People think the natural method failed when the number doesn't crash instantly to normal. That is the wrong expectation. The goal is not theatrical. The goal is truthful. If you were at 172/94 because you just climbed stairs, argued with your son, and checked your pressure while angry, getting down to 154/86 after a breathing reset is meaningful. It tells you the stress surge was part of the picture. Then your doctor can judge the baseline more accurately. You are not looking for perfection in one sitting. You are trying to separate temporary amplification from the real blood pressure trend that needs long-term attention. And please hear me on this point. Do not start adjusting medication on your own because of a single bad reading or a single good reading. Never double up unless your clinician has given you a specific plan. Never abruptly stop certain blood pressure medicines because you want to do this naturally now. That can backfire hard. Natural methods are powerful partners. They are not excuses to improvise with prescription drugs. The smartest approach is layered care, accurate readings, calm resets when needed, better food, regular movement, better sleep, less sodium, less alcohol, stress control, and medication used correctly when medication is truly needed. That combination protects people. Random experiments do not. Let me show you how this works in real life with Gloria from Phoenix, Arizona. Gloria was 74 and had become afraid of her own monitor. Every high reading ruined her entire day. She'd sit there staring at the numbers like they were a verdict on her future. We changed only 3 things at first. She stopped checking right after activity. She used the 5-minute slow breathing reset before rechecking any scary number. And she quit measuring while the television was on. 2 weeks later, her log looked completely different. Not magically perfect, but steadier, less chaos, less fear. And once fear dropped, her blood pressure started behaving more like a medical condition and less like a daily ambush. Now imagine combining that fast method with the right long-term habits. That's when the real power shows up. Slow breathing gives you immediate control over the surge. Better meals lower the daily load on your arteries. Walking keeps the vessels responsive. Sleep restores the nervous system. Weight loss, even modest, reduces cardiovascular strain. Lowering sodium stops you from fighting hidden fluid retention and vessel stiffness day after day. This is why I reject the fantasy of one magic ingredient. The magic is the stack. But if you force me to pick the first thing to do the next time a stable, symptom-free, high reading appears, I will still pick the breathing reset. Here's the protocol I want you to remember. High reading. Stop. Sit. Feet flat. Back supported. No talking. No television. No phone. Loosen tight clothing. Empty your bladder if needed. Breathe in 4 seconds. Breathe out 6 seconds. Continue for 5 minutes. Rest 1 minute. Recheck. Rest 1 more minute. Recheck again. Log both numbers. If the readings remain very high repeatedly, contact your healthcare professional. If the reading is over 180 over 120 and symptoms are present, call 911. That is the entire decision tree. Simple enough to remember. Powerful enough to keep you from doing the wrong thing in a frightened moment. And I want to say something personal before we finish. Many seniors feel betrayed by their blood pressure because it seems to rise out of nowhere. But often what's really happening is this. The body is reacting to stress, speed, salt, poor sleep, loneliness, grief, or years of accumulated strain. It is not your enemy. It is your signal, and signals become less frightening when you know how to respond. The worst feeling in health is helplessness. The best feeling is having a plan. Today, I've given you a plan you can use within minutes, in your own home, with no purchase, no gimmick, and no nonsense. So if you remember nothing else from this video, remember this. The #1 best natural method to lower blood pressure fast is not swallowing something. It is calming the system that is driving the spike. Slow, paced breathing with a longer exhale, done correctly, is your first move when the situation is stable and symptom-free. Then you build the bigger life around it: better food, less sodium, daily walking, better sleep, lower stress, and careful follow-up with your doctor. That is how you stop living in fear of the monitor and start using it wisely. Take care of yourself, protect your peace, and I'll see you in the next video.